interesting interviews. It's good.
Okay.
David, big meeting last night at the council. The chambers were full, packed with all sorts of different people. What were the highlights as far as you were concerned?
Well, there were two really substantial matters on the agenda. One was the final decision on setting a set of minimum engineering guidelines for Wamberal protection works. Essentially, what we've got there is a set of property owners who are entitled under New South Wales Government law to protect their property, and council is required to consider any DA that they may lodge. And what we've done is try to develop a set of guidelines that will develop the best possible outcome should a protective structure be constructed.
Now, there were a lot of people last night who have an alternate view. They rocked up before the council meeting to voice. You went out and talked to them. How do you think they digested it?
Look, I think that many people have got a view that a wall will destroy the beach. That is the case generally when it's in the active surf zone, but the fact is that we're looking to locate any wall that is constructed out of the active zone, and that means that there should not be any significant impact from the wall on the beach, the level of beach sand. If we do get a diminution of beach sand over a period of time, that would be due to natural processes as opposed to a wall.
Now, I'll move on to other things. Apropos that, the Davistown wetlands, you passed your staff's recommendation to do with sea level rise or potential sea level rise. This does affect a lot of people. How are you going to deal with that?
Look, it's an extremely difficult situation that we're going to have to work with over many years. We're really talking about sea level rise and tidal incursion, and so this will be something that will be happening gradually, and there'll have to be a large number of gradual changes made over a period of time. But ultimately, significant parts of both private and public infrastructure in Davistown has got the potential to be impacted. We are going to have to do some work on our road network and some of our other infrastructure, potentially on some revetment walls and retaining walls around the waterfront. But people who live in Davistown are also going to have to contemplate over the longer period of time, how they might want to develop going forward.
Now, other things, there's been a lot of hullabaloo about these banners / flagpoles. There's a little bit of argy-bargy last night there. What's the council's position? What are the facts about this?
Well, the council had never contemplated banning the flying of the Australian flag, and in fact, the proposal put forward was going to put more flagpoles into Yamina, which was the area that was being considered. But unfortunately, don't get the facts getting in front of a good story, and there was a lot of noise around that council was looking to ban the Australian flag. There was nothing further from the case. The question in the debate was, should we have national flags on what are essentially advertising banners that are used to promote festivals and events throughout the city? Ultimately, after considering the matter, the administrator decided that yes, for Australia Day, we will permit community groups to propose putting flags up, but those flags should represent flags in accordance with Australian flag protocol, which will include the Australian flag, the Torres Strait Islander flag, and the Aboriginal flag.
Right, and now I have to ask you every month, or Rick, how are the finances tracking?
Good. It's interesting, it's settled down now. I just had a sneak preview of the September figures, and they're just about on budget. So we bounced back very well last year. We went from a $160 million deficit over 2 years into a $48 million surplus. This year we're not performing as strongly, but we're still in the black and continuing to perform better than budget, but coming back to I guess a more normal situation. That's what you want to be. I said when I came here that I want councils to become boring, and if I'm doing my job well, the affairs and the mechanics of the council are boring, and actually the city and the local area is exciting, and I hope we're moving in that direction.
Now, we're here on the waterfront. We've done an article about the waterfront. There's a lot of discussion online and otherwise about your plans here at the waterfront. I'd be remiss not to ask you, how's it going? You proposed draft plans previously. How's the consultation planning process going?
Okay, we're going out on public consultation next Tuesday until the 1st of December, and we'll be really seeking the input of the broader community into it, and obviously we're talking to a range of other stakeholders. about how we might be able to advance it. Ultimately, this is about being the leader, not being the developer, getting community support for what's really important to maximise the potential of Gosford, and frankly to maximise the potential of urban life in the Central Coast.
So I noted in those plans that you've said council won't develop this, it will be a state government entity. Is that still the case?
Absolutely. Our intention is that we would be seeking to place our assets, our land, into some sort of vehicle that would seek to develop this asset for the good of all people of our community. As I said, making an opportunity to realise the potential of Gosford. I was just at a tourism lunch and I was talking to an international tourism consultant who's doing work for the New South Wales government at the moment, and he agreed with me, that the potential of Gosford is severely compromised by the lack of connection between the CBD of Gosford and the waterfront.
Now, I would be remiss not again to ask about potholes. How are they going? How's the rebuilding of our roadworks?
Every day it doesn't rain,
yeah.
We gain some ground, and every day it does rain, we move backwards. It's extremely difficult because the resources that you need to do the proper repairs, the heavy patching, are only so finite right across the country. We've got extra crews working, we've got contractors working, but in some ways we're battling the weather, and what we need is an extended period of dry weather to really, really catch up. We're doing all we can, but it's interesting listening to the Premier last week, and his comments were those issues are happening right across the state. People think it's local, but it's right across the state. When the enemy of a road network is rain, and we've had record wet weather this year.
We have indeed. I noticed there's some very good works being done, for example, down at Ettalong, some other places around the coast where you do a whole section rather than just the potholes.
Yep. Look, filling potholes will only last 6 months, and if it's really wet, maybe even less. So pothole filling is really only a temporary solution. The real solution is either heavy patching, where you do a section of that, or full road reconstruction. Full road reconstruction is extremely expensive, and there's a whole heap of planning has to be done. You've got to think, are there any services in the road? Is there water, power, data in the road? Because you actually dig up the whole road, and the road isn't just the black stuff. The few centimetres of black stuff. A road can be 2 or 3 metres deep, and but we're doing a lot of heavy patching by ourselves and with contractors. But and what that does is when you heavy patch, you clearly do those areas that are most affected, and that means you don't have to send crews out to fill those potholes, and they can look at some of those other areas that are being not as quickly responded to. So, but we really are in a battle against the weather, and if we can get periods of dry weather, then we'll make some significant progress.
Fingers crossed. Okay, thanks for speaking with Central Coast newspapers.
Cheers. Gee, I stuttered a bit during that process.